Okay, cool. So just leave that up for a couple seconds. Stop that. Perfect. That's almost like that thing they do in movies with the like action. So why don't let's just start by Andrea, if you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and
Sure.
talk about.
So my name is Andrea Brandt, and I live about an hour north of Detroit in Goodrich, Michigan. And I used to live in Traverse City. I lived there for 10 years and then moved back here. I grew up down here and then moved to Traverse City and then moved back down here about 10 years ago. And I am a wedding photographer. I specialize in destination weddings and elopements and like intimate photos of couples. And my business is Lume Photography, Lume Photography. And I also do education for other photographers. And I'm running on 4 hours of sleep right now. So
we won't judge it too hard.
We just got a kitten, and he sleeps in my room, and he doesn't sleep. He just jumps on me all night and like tries to bite my face. So, yeah, I'm like running on fumes right now.
Aren't cats technically nocturnal?
Probably.
You're like, all evidence points to yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what took you up to Traverse and what took you back down to Detroit area?
So my mom, when I was like in high school, she decided to sell our house and buy a motel up in Traverse City, and just like uprooted everything I knew, and we moved up there, and I was unimpressed for like about a year. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know where Traverse City was. I was like, where are we going? Oh my goodness, like I don't know anything about Traverse City, but now I love it there. Like I wish I could still live in Traverse City because I miss it a lot, but my husband works like in the automotive industry, so we're kind of stuck here for now.
For sure.
But eventually we'd like to move back because it's just better.
and I mean, I have my opinions on why it's just better, but can you expand on that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so I'm like huge into nature, and I love hiking, and I love just being outside, and there is nowhere around here to go where there isn't like a ton of people. I have like a couple spots that I know of around here that are okay, but nothing like up there. There's just so many trails and cool places to go where it's very remote.
Yeah. One of the things, I think we may have talked about this in one of the last calls, but one of my favorite things is being able to just get on a trail and go and get completely lost. And I feel like there are some beautiful places in the Detroit area. You know, Belle Isle is obviously like the first to mind for a lot of people. It's just a stunning area. But there are very few places that I know of where you can get completely lost and kind of completely in your head and not accidentally stumble upon the parking lot again, where you just like go on this little loop and then you're like, oh, we're here. I guess we have to decide if we want to do that whole thing again or go home. Instead, you can just like leave the trailhead and just like go for a number of hours and just be like, okay, we need to decide if we're turning back around because it's about to get dark.
Yeah. The landscapes down here are all pretty much the same, like woods, fields. There might be like a brown river. And like people
that being said, spending this much time in nature, you know, being known for shooting, you know, the epic landscapes of northern Michigan, you definitely get really excited showing up in any sort of major metropolitan area with tall buildings and that, you know, hard dramatic lighting that you get in the city. You don't get that in the woods. We get a little bit of it downtown Traverse City, so I get my urban fix by going to the 2 blocks that is northern Michigan's, you know, or Traverse City's downtown. But it's definitely not the same thing.
Yeah, I avoid cities.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm just such an ADD photographer, or like an ADD person by nature, that the second I get on any sort of like routine of like shooting the same places, I have to kind of change things up and move into a new area because I just get bored and stagnant really easily.
I understand that.
Can you, so I would love to hear you just kind of like wax poetic or like discuss kind of how you got into, because I know you specifically, I mean, I know you do a bunch of different things, but I know you specifically as this like kind of like travel and non-traditional weddings. Can you talk a little bit about like how that came to be for you, how you kind of like found that fit?
Sure. Yeah, I think like because I love nature so much, I'm always traveling to like cool spots like Colorado, Arizona. I love mountains and I love the ocean. And so it just kind of came natural that I would want to like shoot things in those
Hmm.
environments. And I feel like that's where I'm most inspired and I can be like as creative as possible in those places where like I
Hmm.
find cities or like indoor photo shoots or like urban photo shoots I find like really distracting and I can't
Hmm.
like do I don't know my best work. So it was probably about 5 years ago when I decided like I'm just gonna specialize in outdoor like more intimate type weddings, which is hard because where I
Yeah.
live is all like golf course weddings or like downtown Detroit weddings. So I had to kind of like expand. So now I try to get clients from like all over. I've had clients that live like in California, clients that live in Chicago. Like um, I'm more spread out so that I have the opportunity to go to these places that I love.
Do they tend, so they don't, they tend not to come to you, you tend to go to where they are?
Yeah, or like a lot of my clients live somewhere, but they're getting married somewhere else, and we just meet there. Like,
Interesting.
um, I've had clients that are in different states that are want to go to the Rocky Mountain National Park or something like that where I talk to them, we do like video chats and we get to know each other and then meet at the place where we're going to be at.
That's such an interesting take. I mean, one of the things that I have been writing about for some of the coursework that I'm building is the kind of the different types of markets that photographers might be living in. So mine is the exact opposite, right? So my client base is probably just as spread out as yours. I have people from all over on the West Coast. I have a weird group of people in is it Minneapolis? I have like probably 5 or 6 clients, and they don't know each other. They're just like
Yeah,
people from that area that tend to vacation here. There must be like some pipelines between, or maybe just cheap flights or something like that. But my clients are all over the country, and so it was probably my like 6th or 7th year shooting before I started to get a really good base of clients in my area. So then you start to see people talk about these, business models where you shoot like mini sessions with families. I was like, that's great, but my couples, my clients are all over the country. I can't do any sort of remarketing to them. Uh, I can't sustain a business on, hey, we photographed with you 6 months ago. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. I had to like constantly be going back to the well for new clients. But I know people who just they don't need anything more than what, like 20, 30 clients, and they are just like consistently staying busy with families every single year. That's a very different business model. But I love this idea that it's fascinating that you're able to find people not only not in your area, but aren't even coming to your area. And
yeah.
I feel like there's probably a lot of like um, secret sauce in that question of like, how do you get people to book you from, say, like Southern California, but they want to go to like, I don't know, Prague? Probably not Prague.
Yeah,
Prague?
that'd be awesome.
Uh, so, I mean, you can speak to that or not. Like, if there's some like secret stuff in there that you're not really worth sharing, I'm not gonna make you feel bad about that. But if there's any insights there that you think would be interesting, is anything that you want to talk about?
Yeah, totally. I see that Emily is asking a bunch of questions about it.
Oh,
So yeah, it started out probably about 4 years ago. I would go on like personal travel trips um, just to go cool places. And
yeah.
I would set up shoots while I was like on vacation. I would
Hmm.
find couples like um, there's a platform called Honeybook that has
Yeah.
like a Honeybook community, and I would just like put a shout out in there like, hey, I'm looking for some models.
Right.
And like always I would find a couple that was willing to wait, what? Show your work that you want. Yeah. Show what you want to do. That's pretty much like my philosophy. So like,
yeah.
if you want to sell destination weddings, you show destination weddings. So I would like set up these shoots while I was at like traveling personally, so that I could have like work in my portfolio that showed working in different destinations.
Yeah.
And then a lot of it was Instagram because I like worked so hard. It was like 3 years ago. I was like, I am gonna make my Instagram like the best it can possibly be. So for like the whole year, all I did is like work my butt off to get Instagram like perfect.
Nice.
And it was exhausting, but it was totally
Instagram
worth
is
it.
such a drain.
Oh my gosh, from that, like I booked so many weddings from that it was like that, where people were like, hey, we live in California and we're getting married in Colorado and we saw your work on Instagram and are you available? And I was like, yes, it worked.
That's amazing. Yeah, we get a decent following or decent number of leads through Instagram, and it definitely is proportional to the amount of energy that we put into it. I will say, I definitely think, and I'm open to being wrong. Please tell me if I'm incorrect. I think that there is a little bit of like a missed the boat moment happening where like Instagram is really kind of like not giving visibility to some people over others, and like even just in the last few days, I've noticed our numbers dropping pretty significantly. Whereas we usually would get like 250 likes on an image, we're getting like 70, which is pretty scary to me. You have any thoughts on it? Am I overstating it, or do you feel like that's happening?
No, I do feel like that's happening. I think like the algorithm's kind of shifting, and like before, I saw Emily ask about hashtags, and yeah, like I was using tons of like location-based hashtags. So like let's say I would go to Colorado and do a shoot there, and then I would just like post the crap out of it on Instagram and hashtag like Colorado wedding photographer, Colorado elopement photographer, like, and I think that's how people ended up seeing my work. But now I guess like if you post more than like 5 to 10 hashtags, you get like penalized for it.
And I've heard if you copy and paste them from another app, you get penalized. So you have to like and we've been doing experiments on it. I'm not seeing when we're doing things like the right way, I'm not seeing the trend line go up yet. But yeah, I feel like maybe that came from, and I've seen this a lot being from Northern Michigan, which is a place that a lot of people from the Midwest desire to shoot. I've seen a lot of people that will tag like Traverse City photographer, and the photos are like clearly downtown some other Midwest city, not even in Michigan. So I wonder if we go ahead, sorry.
Instagram like knows that now, I guess. I was reading an article about that, how like if you post a picture that has like landmarks or is clearly like a certain location or area, and then try to tag that it's a different area, or if you tag like multiple areas or hashtag them, it'll like shadow ban you.
Interesting. I feel like we need to put our brains together and come up with like 2020 guide to hashtags in Instagram, because I think that would be really valuable.
I think so too.
Especially in an era when I think what everybody is focusing on right now is their social media, their website, things that can be done at home instead of being kind of like out and about. I will invert that and say one of the things that really piqued my interest is something that we've done a lot of, is any excuse you can be to be in that location that you want to be, whether it's like traveling with family or you've got a cousin that lives like 30 minutes south of a beautiful place. Go be there. And then I think Emily wrote it in the chat, like show the work that you wish you were doing. Don't just sit back and like wait for that ideal client to show up and be like, what is the trendy location of the season? What it was Estes Park last year, it was Iceland a few years before. was it Azores the year before that or something like, I don't remember. Like
Yeah.
don't just hope that like your neighbor is going to be like, hey, I just by coincidence I booked $5,000 tickets to Iceland. Would you come with and I'll pay you? Like that's just not going to happen if your
Yeah.
pictures are just, you know, your front yard.
Yeah. Of course, it's really hard right now because nobody can go anywhere.
It's impossible. It's literally
Yeah.
impossible. Although, have you seen these portraits, or these
Oh
like
yeah.
FaceTime portraits?
Yeah.
How do you feel
I
about
think
portraits?
it's pretty awful, but I don't know. Like I've seen a lot of things from both sides, and at first I was like, no, 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 no. Like that is a bad thing. Like you
Yeah,
shouldn't be working right now if you're not essential. Um, I don't know. But then now I guess like I'm starting to get swayed. Not that I don't think I would ever offer them because I don't do like family portraits or anything like that. And
right.
I don't, and doing portraits of couples, that's like not on my brand at all whatsoever.
Yeah, that's kind of how we are too. We've been asked a couple times by families if it's something that we're offering when inquiring for something else, and they're like, well, let's just wait until afterwards, and I
Yeah.
would much rather do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so torn. On one hand, like I can't blame somebody for panicking and feeling like all my work is dried up and I need to feed my family, and like I get that. But also global pandemic.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. I love, again, I'm coming back to this idea a lot recently, but I just love this idea that so many creatives have been using it as an excuse to kind of try new things. And um, Emily just asked about hashtags. I'm gonna write this down. We'll talk about that next because I do have some thoughts on
Yeah.
hashtags. Um, I lost my train of thought. Just create. Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. This is like not a plug, but they did do a write up on our local in the Traverse City Record Eagle about the porch trits movement. They called me and asked about it, and I basically just said the same thing that I just said, which was like, it's cool that everybody's like getting super creative and you know, trying to do things within the rules. But then I think since I said that, the order has gotten a lot more strict, and they're like, please just don't be outside at all. And the idea that you're going to
yeah.
go do porch, which I just hate the word porch trits.
Yeah.
The idea that you're going to do like porch photos and kind of be in any way risking anybody, I think is a little bit
Yeah.
dangerous.
Then I don't
Um,
know, like I've been trying to make sure that I pick up my camera every day during
yeah.
this and like trying to, take pictures of our family and just, the cats and like just
Hmm.
the general state of how it is right now because I think like 30, 40 years from now, I want to like be able to bring those out and like, be like, hey, look at what happened. Like this is
Yeah.
crazy. And I think maybe a lot of people aren't photographers and they want that too, but they don't want to do it themselves or whatever. So
Or
I
don't know
think
how
maybe that's
to,
like,
or
yeah, maybe that's like part of the reason why they want like portraits done during this time.
it's also just a movement, right? Like anytime something becomes a trend, um, there's a personality type that just wants something because everybody else is doing it.
Yeah.
Um, oh wait, it's like $1,000 in fines and possible jail time if you're caught working right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so maybe don't do that now. I will say to that point though, I did enjoy that most of the people that I saw doing it were taking the money from it, either giving it away for free or taking the money and donating it to whatever PPE charity, um, personal protection equipment charity in their region was, needing funding or something like that, which
Yeah,
is
that's cool.
yeah. So let's get off sad things and back to Instagram things.
Yeah.
I know Emily was asking about hashtags, and I don't know about your process, but what I have done to do hashtag research is just, and it can be a little bit tricky because there's definitely a sweet spot where like if you go find these like 45K, 100K, million K accounts, they don't need hashtags like the rest of us peasants, so they don't use them at all. But if you can find that sweet spot where somebody's at like 10K, 8K, 15, 20, something like that, and then just go and find what they're using, copy those, don't use those directly, and then I go through and I'll do research on those tags and find some that, and there's another sweet spot where like if something has a million uses for that tag, it's useless. Nobody's going to see that. But if it's sitting somewhere, and I don't have an exact threshold, if it's 200, don't bother. But if it's like what, like 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, something like that, you're probably in a ballpark where somebody is going to be there. There's an active user base that's like searching that and using that, but you won't be drowned out. Do you have any thoughts on that, Andrea?
Yeah, that's basically the same thing that I do. I'll like look at maybe like photographers that I love that are not in my region, or even ones that are in my region, I guess, that use a lot of hashtags. I'll look through theirs and see, you know, like you can kind of tell, is it like some hashtags are location based, like Michigan wedding photographer or Detroit wedding photographer or Northern Michigan wedding photographer. And then there's like feature accounts, like Dirty Boots, Messy Hair, Looks Like Film. I don't know. There's like a bunch of them that I use that that are like big accounts. So I know like I'll probably get buried right away when I use them. But then I try to find like a lot of hashtags that aren't like that aren't used as much. I can't think of any examples.
I try to get into I try to get into people's heads and think about what it is that they are going to be searching. And I mean, it's one thing, you know, Looks Like Film, Moody Grams, or any of those like really top level trendy ones that that you and I would be searching. But you have to get into the mindset of your client and just think of like somebody who's like, okay, I have this pile of cash that I would like to spend on a photographer. It's a lot of money. How do I find the photographer that makes me happy? And then they're not going to be searching Dirty Boots, Messy Hair. Instead, they're going to be like Detroit wedding photographer, Traverse City wedding photographer. And those, I mean, depending on your region, those can be like way overused, but they're also probably what that client base is going to be base is going to be searching for when they find, because they might not even search hashtags. They might just search that and the hashtag will come up.
Yeah, I'll even use like elopement planning or like wedding planning ideas or things that I think like if I was somebody looking for a wedding photographer, what would I be searching for?
For sure. Cool. Do you keep a consistent like a set of hashtags, or do you work with like do you rotate them? Do you do it based on genre, or how do you categorize them?
Yeah, I kind of rotate them. I have like certain ones that I like a lot, and so I'll try to use them a lot, but I don't want to ever post like the same hashtags every time because you get in trouble for doing that. So I'll rotate through them.
I think that's what we're having right now, because I have like a Google Doc that has I have a folder that has like each different genre, and I think I'm just reposting those same ones too frequently, and I need to break that down. Break that up.
Well, when I'm using my phone, like the what is it called, where like the keyboard like gives you suggestions at the top of the keyboard. So like now it knows all my hashtags. So if I just start typing like hashtag and then a letter, it'll just come up with a list of all the ones I use. And I'll just like pick random ones.
Does that do you then change it from there, or do you let it just type or paste in the whole thing?
No, it'll be like just one at a time.
Oh, you mean you just like type the hashtag? I thought you meant you typed out like the word hashtag and it would do the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll type like hashtag and then the letter L, and then it'll give me like 5 suggestions that are ones I always use, and I'm like, oh, I'll use this one.
How much do you do you know how many hashtags you're using per post?
Right now I'm using between 5 and 10.
Okay. I'm going to go, Emily asked if we could share your screen, or my screen, with your.
Yeah, cool.
With your Instagram on it. And I'm just going to do like a slow scroll through here. I think this, can you
Yeah.
guys, can you see it, Andrea?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Actually, let's click into one of these because then we can get a sense of your hashtag usage.
Cool.
Man, this wasn't supposed to be a hashtag discussion, but I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
This is what, 6 or 3, 4, 7 in here. A bit more there. And this, okay, so this one, can you see my mouse too?
Yeah.
I don't know what part of my, can you see my whole screen or what are you seeing?
I can see the whole screen.
Okay, gotcha.
So all the
So,
type is like really small for me to see, but
oh, okay, I wish I wonder if there's a way to like zoom in. It doesn't. We'll figure this out.
I
Nope.
can see it really good here.
Okay,
okay.
cool. Oh yeah, it's right. You're on your phone. I forgot. Yeah, so it looks like you've got like Pure Michigan, which is like a Michigan ad campaign. You got
Mhm.
Silver Lake Sand Dunes, which is an actual like kind of geographic hashtag. Elopement photographer. That's something that somebody would be looking for, a quote unquote elopement photographer. Destination wedding photographer. Together We Roam is kind of, is that a group?
That's like a feature account.
Yep, yep. Do you find that you get do you get featured often?
Not as often as I want.
Yeah, I just feel like personally, I have never seen like a huge bump from any of those.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of like massive
A
increases when
couple
you get
times,
featured?
like in the last, I would say like in the last 6 months, I've had a couple good ones.
Cool.
But like hasn't brought me any new business. So.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I've been trying to focus on. Is like not just grabbing or like going towards things that tend to increase vanity or get your numbers up artificially, but just what are ways that we can be spending time on actually making us more money.
Oh, thank you. I'm really happy with
Yeah.
my Instagram right now.
It looks killer. Like it's such a beautiful like the color palette is definitely on point across the board. And I love the fact that you have these little ones that technically might I guess I can click into it. I mean, this doesn't, quote unquote, doesn't fit, but it does somehow. Like, I mean, if you're talking pure content, it would
Thank
not technically be
you.
part of it. But man, yeah, it just feels really cohesive to your brand identity as a company and as a person. I feel you coming through in these for sure.
Cool. That's what I want.
Right? That's all we ever want.
Lately I've been like really trying to work on like my backgrounds in my pictures, like getting them as like least distracting as possible, I guess.
Yeah.
Like going for more minimalist, smooth, like I don't know.
I can see that.
Really wanting to work on that. So that's one thing I've been working on. And then I've also been working on composition, but just recently, because we binged Better Call Saul, and have you seen that?
I saw the first season.
Like the cinematography in that is just insane. Like I could not watch one episode without being like, what? Like the angles and the compositions that they use with the cameras just like blew my mind. And I was like, oh, I need to like totally up my composition game. So
yeah,
I've been like
that's
really
a really
working
good.
with that.
All right, two things. I want to roll back. I'm going to start on this, and then I want to go back to backgrounds and composition. We are on the last call. We ended up talking about. Were you around for the last one? I don't remember.
I was only on for like half of it.
Okay, gotcha. So we had this. Mike and I have been talking off the call about this like bad art club concept, which sounds way too highfalutin, but the idea is just that as creatives, especially in the time of quarantine, you just will do prompts or some way to get people working on the same concept, and then you just dig around your house and find trash and garbage and just make creative things out of it.
That's
and
awesome.
I think that being inspired by wedding photographer, being inspired by non-wedding photographers, as a portrait photographer, being inspired by non-portrait photographers, finding other things to be inspired by is really important. And I think, digging through hashtags and digging through feature accounts and looking at your competition, it can be really easy just to be like, oh, all of my work is derivative of these 3 people that I really admire. And I think being inspired by Better Call Saul is an incredible thing that everybody should be paying attention to. Not specifically that, but finding something in your life that is very inspiring for you, that comes from a completely different world, I think is perfect, especially for this time, especially when the federal government is essentially encouraging us all just to binge Netflix right now.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense. And I wanted to say about backgrounds and composition, I did that a couple, I wouldn't say like, I've noticed in my own work that every year I tend to find something that I obsess over. And I don't necessarily like look for it. I don't necessarily try to find something to obsess over, but unintentionally, every single year, something comes to the forefront of my mind by like the 5th or 6th shoot of the season. And I'm like, this is something that I am going to focus on for the entire year. And like 2 or 3 years ago, it was not just composition, but it was like, I guess you might just call this composition to be reductive, but I specifically wanted my work to, like, the entire frame of the photograph to be considered. And so that meant that I was not thinking of, like, I was thinking of photographs once I've gotten like my client comfortable, once I've gotten like my lighting figured out, I was instead working on my composition as cohesive pieces, not even thinking of them as photographs, but thinking of them as like a flat plane where like this part of the frame kind of moves into this and that moves in. So by thinking in that way, that like every single little part of the frame is considered, I found that my editing time became nothing, because I was moving that thing ahead of time, that little thing that's in the corner that you just like want to like Photoshop away. Instead, I was moving that, or that angle that you're like, that lighting on the nose just hits wrong. I was seeing all of those parts and pieces and intentionally manipulating things ahead of time, so that my editing was just like, take the custom preset that we've built, one click, adjust the lighting maybe a little bit, and then just like move on. So I have this idea that I want to do like Photoshop tutorials and stuff through here, but I have nothing to share because my editing is so boring.
Well, maybe we could do like a once a week type of thing, or once every couple weeks or something, where people can like Dropbox a raw file and then we all edit it. Do you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah,
I would be willing to do like, I could do like a video of my editing.
Yeah, I'd be super interested in that. We have a challenge that we've done, I think 4 of them, called Edit With Me. And they're traditionally, they're supposed to come from the walks. And the idea was to like, keep people creative in between, but with so much time in between now where everybody's just kind of like sitting at home. I wouldn't mind ramping that up a little bit. All of the things that we're doing with like the daily challenge, the bi-weekly challenge, these quarantine calls, and like, we add Bad Art Club into there and we add in something like this. I want to make sure that they fit in kind of as a puzzle piece so that people aren't being like overwhelmed and chaotic. So far, everything that's come on as a scheduled, ordered project has felt like it fits in well. Like the bi-weeklies live on the Instagram story, the dailies fit in the Facebook group, these are on Zoom. Like nobody's kind of like taking up the same bandwidth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm super into Hannah just had editing tutorials. Yes. Emily said I'd love to watch Andrea edit. Say it again.
I would just post a couple editing videos, I guess.
Yeah.
But I can't do it right now because I'm on my phone, Emily.
Yeah, I don't know the best way to do it. I kind of like the idea of using Instagram Live or using YouTube, or we can have a separate stream, like a Zoom stream where you just share your screen and talk to people and record those. Like, I think that'd be fine. And I have one of our photo club members donated or sponsored, I guess you should say, a month of Zoom Premium. So we have as much time as possible. So I could always anonymize or create a kind of a generic password and pass that along if you want to make them longer than 40 minutes.
Cool.
Can I ask, where did the name Lume come from?
Oh boy. All right. So a long time ago, when I first learned how to use Photoshop, I bought this pack of actions, which are like presets kind of. They, in Photoshop, you can like record your actions in Photoshop, and then it creates like a replay, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. The end result
That's
is
correct.
basically like a preset. So it's like you hit play and then it just automatically goes through what you recorded. And one of the actions was named Lume, and it took me like 2 years to decide that I was going to have that be my business name, but I liked it because it reminds me of like luminous or like luminosity, and I love the moon, and so like it kind of goes along with that, and nobody else had it.
That's also very important. Emily had that same story where she said that she was surprised that Appalachian wedding photographer wasn't taken, and it was just a really, yeah. It's like, why is that not on sale for $30,000?
Right.
I love words. I love branded words that feel like other words, but are clearly not, because it does sound like loon or luna or lunar, but
yeah,
it's not. But you've kind of like, with the rebranding you've done with the owls, or the owl, that still feels like that lunar quality, or that luminance. I feel like reflected light off of the moon. Yeah, it's great. I'm always hesitant on words that don't mean anything, but I like yours a lot. I don't know. Branding is such a complicated, like, personal process.
oh yeah,
How
that's
was
like a
your
whole other thing.
yeah, how did your rebranding go? Was that hard?
It was interesting. It took me a year to like figure out what I was doing. I started out, I actually took an online course where they went over like branding, and they kind of use the same concepts as the book Building a Story Brand. If I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like a book by Donald Miller that talks about how your brand should be like focused on your potential clients. I don't know how to describe it. Instead of like on your website saying like, this is me and this is what I do and this is why it's awesome and this is why I'm better than everybody else, you're like switching it around and saying, here's who you are, and this is why you are looking for me.
My father is an old school, like, public relations, marketing. Like he his entire career was built around like radio, television, newspaper, cable, advertisements, things like that. And when we first got started, that was something that he grilled into us, was that your brand, your voice out to the world is not about you. It's like, so anytime I would send him any like ad copy or stuff for our website, and I need to go back through because I'm not an incredible writer. I need to do this again. But every single time he would nick off like, this paragraph started with I, this sentence started with I. And if you look through that, most people do that. They start all of their copy on their website, on their ads, on their Instagram captions, and they're just saying, I do this, I do that, I wanna, and it's not wrong, but there is something really, really authentic and sweet about saying, you, we, this. Like, it's really powerful to kind of speak to your brand like that.
Yeah. And then like part of it was me discovering and researching like who my ideal client is, or like my target market. Because that allows you to really like niche down and reach the people who are like the best fit for working with you.
For sure. there's something really powerful about that feeling. And I know that it was something really important to us a few years ago. We made a decision a few years ago, it was a number of years ago. We made a decision that we were not going to go after every single piece of work that came into our laps, and instead really focus on, and this sounds really conceited and self-aggrandizing at first, but when you get into the weeds on it, you realize how kind it is to say, I'm not your photographer. I'm not the person that you want to hire. Instead, I know the person that is right for you, or I know a few people that could be right for you. Give me a second, answer these 2 questions, and I'll find the person for you. But the thing that you want from me is a deal breaker, and I'm not going to do it, because if I do that for you, I'm compromising on my work, and my work will be less good than the person who that is part of their brand. That is part of what the art that they create for themselves.
Yep, I totally agree with that. I think that in turn, you end up getting clients that like love working with you, and then you in turn feel like you want to do your best work for them because they're so awesome, and they like are throwing their money at you because they're like, here, you're amazing, just do whatever you want, we totally trust you. It's like the best feeling
for sure.
ever.
We make a big deal of if we don't hear the word trust early on in the discussion, and not that we ask for it, but most of our clients will ask them this or that, and their answer is, I don't know, I trust you, just make it right. Or again, this sounds really conceited and self-aggrandizing, but if I'm seeing like 2 or 3 leads come in, and they're all on the same date, the one that comes in that says like, I'm not looking around, I'm not price shopping, I've been following your work for 5 years. We get this a lot with our seniors, where they don't care about anybody else. They're not looking at another photographer. Their older brother worked with us, or their senior friend when they were a freshman, and now it's 3 or 4 years later, and they're like, yeah, I'm not looking around. It doesn't matter what this costs. I just want it. I might not be able to afford the top level package, but we're doing this.
Right.
If I don't see that, and again, I'm checking my language here because I don't want to come across sounding like a jerk, but if I don't see that, I'm like, I think there's something wrong. Either you're booking this because you feel it's a necessity, or you are price shopping, and maybe we're not the right person for you. Have you seen my work? My work's messy. My work isn't like perfect and bubbly and happy every time. So if you're not going to like that, I've got people for you.
Yeah. Yep. Same.
So going back to this like travel, non-traditional stuff, I wrote down HoneyBook. Are you a big HoneyBook user?
No.
Oh, I'm not either. And so some people swear by it. Are you using the social function without being a subscriber?
Yeah. It's free to sign up for HoneyBook community, so I just
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is something we're gonna put that in the show notes, because I was under the impression that it was this like secret thing hidden behind like a $35 a month subscription. I already have a CRM. My clients interact with me through a different software, and I just wasn't going to jump ship just for that part. But I know people have had really good luck finding models, finding friends through HoneyBook community.
Yeah, I have like really good luck through there. I've tried posting like on Facebook looking for models or couples, and it always doesn't end up well, because I'll get like a lot of people that I'm friends with that I don't necessarily want to use. Not that I'm like discriminating or anything, but like some couples that I've worked with before that every single time I post a model call, they're like, oh, pick us. We love working with you. And I'm like, well, I don't want to take more pictures of you because I have enough.
Yeah. Or also, if you want more pictures from me, you can pay me. I want to stretch my brand awareness. I want to like reach new heights, reach new people, as opposed to like shooting. I've got some people that I love shooting, and if I've got a project, I will check with them first, because I have really good luck shooting with them. But if I want something completely new, I'm going to go find someone new. That's interesting.
HoneyBook is good. I'm on Model Mayhem, which is funny because Model Mayhem is like ridiculous. But
Is that from like,
I have,
I picture that as being like 1998.
yeah. There's like a lot of people who think they're models on there that aren't.
Well,
But like,
technically they
luckily
are,
for
right?
me, like, I don't care. Like, if you think you're a professional model or not, I just want like a real couple that's actually in love. So I don't really
Oh,
care what they
gotcha.
look like, or
Same.
you know, if they've had modeling experience. I don't care. I just want them to be themselves. So I found a couple like couples in Scotland on there because I guess Model Mayhem in Scotland is like really big.
Oh, really?
But like for Michigan, I don't like using Model Mayhem.
Yeah, I've been on there. I've had clients. So because we photograph a lot of young women kind of graduating high school, going on to the next phase, I would say almost every year I get a couple clients who want to kind of double dip and use their portrait session as a modeling opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I'm all about it. Like our work is not that dissimilar from what you would end up using for like a beginner's modeling portfolio. And we've actually gotten a couple of the models that we ended up using a lot for our photo walks from that. But I'm always like very protective of my clients, especially my young women. And there's a lot of creeps and a lot of garbage on some of those platforms. And so anytime someone walks into our space and they're like, hi, I'm graduating, I want to book you for that. B, can you kind of like guide me through this whole like becoming a model thing? I'm like, by all means, yes, well, let's have this discussion. Also, be safe, like bring a friend with you to your shoot with me. But also like any other shoot, if the photographer doesn't advise that, especially bring somebody with, bring your parent, bring a close friend, and have some pepper spray. That sounds, apocalyptic or like being overprepared, but it's not that big of a burden to bring a little keychain of pepper spray with you.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of creep stories on Model Mayhem.
Yeah. So you mentioned right off the bat, you described, and maybe I'm putting too fine of a point on just something you said off the cuff. So if that's the case, just tell me to shut up. But you said, I shoot weddings, elopements, and intimate portraits of couples. That third one, can you, Hunter wrote, the good old mace, gun, and taser, and a buddy. You can't be. Well, I will admit, when you said mace, my like D&D nerd came out, and I was picturing like a medieval flail, just like, I'm ready. Bring this along with you. Like, let's take these pictures, but first, I got to make sure you're good. Can we make that a thing? Can we make medieval flails come back as personal protection?
That'd be awesome.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, is there a medieval mace also works, not as discreet though. Correct. There is definitely something more discreet about a small packet of like pepper spray versus like a giant bludgeoning weapon. I'm holding, this is not pepper spray, this is my headphones, and this is a tripod. I don't own a medieval mace, by the way. Okay. I digress. Is there a distinction that you make with this, like with intimate couples, portraits of couples? Are you just, am I overthinking that, or is there more to it?
Yeah, you're probably overthinking it. Yeah, like, for like engagement sessions or just couples that are already married, or I get people that want to book me for their wedding, but I'm not available and it just isn't going to happen. So they'll book me for their couple session. I call them connection sessions because I focus more on like the connection between them and their kind of dynamic together rather than like poses and backgrounds and things like that.
Right. Yeah, I have struggled with the naming of that, because I will say there is almost nothing more ego boosting than when someone walks into your camp and they're like, hey, I have to have you. I just love everything. And you're like, sorry, you can't, I'm booked. They're like, it doesn't matter. I don't care if my other photographer comes with an engagement shoot. We're doing this. Like, what does it cost? And you're like, oh, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to brand that. I've heard connection sessions. I've heard, we have like SEO landing pages for like engagement shoots, couples shoots. We've got a couple other ones out there. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but
Yeah, I've heard like adventure sessions.
I just don't know if my
Yeah.
client is gonna be like savvy enough as a non-photographer to be like, I'm gonna look for an adventure session. Like that just doesn't seem like you can push it out on Instagram, but I can't imagine that someone's gonna like find that through SEO.
Right.
Connection session, I think, may have mass following, though you might just get a lot of photographers, and that's fine. You can market to photographers. There's a lot of us.
I still have to use the words engagement session a lot. So like when I'm writing the post on Instagram or when I'm writing about it on my website, I'll always include a lot of keywords like engagement session or engagement photos, just so that's there.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some sort of like crossover, kind of like double dipping in hashtags where you can like educate your clients. Or I don't know if are people seeing your hashtags, or are they glossing over those just to get to the photos? You know what I mean? Like
Emily asked about like how much text you should put for Instagram.
Yeah. What do you think?
And I was just reading about how like now the longer the post is, the better. But having it be like as engaging as possible. But like you see these photographers that are posting like really long, like talking about their day or whatever, and they just go on and on. But like Instagram likes that now. So like the longer
man, that's so much work.
I know.
I went through a phase where I was just I intentionally was challenging myself to like describe my photos in like 2 emoji for every single one, just so that I could like get content out, because I had been like, this was a couple years ago, and I had been like lapsing in posting, and because I just don't like writing. I do not like sitting there like making up content when I already have like a photo that I love, and you can only say, I love this photo and this couple so many times before it just sounds ineffective or just sounds inauthentic, because Instagram wants us to be posting like every single day. So I have backlogs of content. I could post 3 times a day, every single day, and I would not run out of content for the next like 5 years.
Nice.
But writing about that is another story completely.
Yeah.
Right? Like writing content to go with that. I just refuse. I'm not gonna write like 6 paragraphs for every single photo.
Right. Well, I used to just do quotes on all of my pictures.
Same.
Like kind of romantic quotes or like passionate quotes, and it would just be like one sentence. And then I was like, I guess I better stop doing that. So,
I had gotten in the habit of keeping a list of new quotes that would come into my head, or things that I would see. And then when I burned through those, I had a new policy of, I always listen to music. And so just like stop, listen to the song that's currently on, and just write down whatever came up, regardless of how it connected, just to have something to say. And yeah, it was so inauthentic because it has nothing to do with anything. It was just like, here are words because I'm supposed to put words here.
Nice. I recently, I think it was like right when this whole COVID thing started, I was Googling like ideas for social media content or like Instagram content ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find like all kinds of ideas. And I made a Word document that has like, I don't know, 300 like prompts kind of for me to think of what to write. And that helped a lot.
I was listening to, so good.
Now I'm like, I feel like weird if I'm not talking about coronavirus, because I feel like that's what everybody else is talking about. And if I'm just talking about like elopements, that's weird. It's like kind of uncomfortable, but I'm
I
trying
got
not
I got
to
a
talk about it.
I got a DM on actually I've been getting this like a couple times a day just because we've been posting what's going on in our lives, which for us right now is taking care of Milo. And I get comments pretty frequently that just say like, I am so excited to see this every single morning because I have to get out of my head. And that's part of what we do here is I try to direct, like allow people to have this discussion about like viral and quarantine stuff early on. And then in the middle of the discussion, we try to step away from it. Not like, I don't want to shut it down when it comes
Yeah.
up, but I guide us away from it. And then we can come back and end a little bit on it, but I try to have us end on like an upbeat note because everybody else is talking about it, especially in the news media. And I don't want to kind of add to that kind of drum of constantly talking about these. There are other things going on, and people are going to get married, elope, need photos. Their families are going to have family reunions. People are going to graduate. Like the world will continue, even if, let's just say worst case scenario, this happened. What if this is forever? It won't be. It won't be. But if it was, we would people would still need to find ways to celebrate. Like human beings need this in our lives. So to say that you're only going to talk about COVID or you're only going to talk about your life in quarantine, I think is, tying your arms behind your back. I think people want to know your life, and that is your life. Those are the things that you experienced. You did spend those times on that shore with that couple at sunset. Like, it was a beautiful moment. Talk about it. I mean, not to put too fine a point on how amazing we are, but we get to take these like the highest moments of people's lives, these times when they got dressed up, hiked out to whatever, out to these like beautiful areas and said these vows to each other. And they're the moments that they will remember over everything else. And that's like a random Saturday for us. Like we get to spend these times with these people. Very few people in their lives get to experience more than a handful of weddings. And the fact that we get to sit there with them and just like soak in this beautiful day, like your stories are incredible, and I think wedding photographers forget that often.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's say 2021 couples are taking this time to plan, so showing work and not talking about COVID every post is totally okay. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I also think just reassuring people that that you're gonna be around, that this is going to continue, that weddings are going to continue, that the good times are going to be here, and not dwelling on the negative. I think is really positive.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I should write that down.
Well, I'll share a lot of these notes in the. I could just share the chat transcript because it spits out the whole chat log for me afterwards, and I usually pick through it and grab some notes to put into the show notes.
Cool.
But if it would be valuable to people, I guess I could dump the chat transcript, but I don't know. I don't know if that's valuable.
I like that you kind of pick through it. That's cool.
Yeah, for sure. See if there's anything I missed over here. Poetry, copy and paste. Content. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I was listening to, you were talking about caption prompts. I haven't completely internalized how to utilize this, but you know who Ben Schwartz is from like Parks and Rec? Yeah. I was listening to a podcast where he was interviewed, and he was talking about how he gets himself inspired to do story writing for TV and movies. And one of the first things that he did when he was younger, and he sold like 6 movies from this idea, was he sat down and just wrote "what if" 50 times on a piece of paper, or I guess probably on a computer, and then filled in just like with stream of consciousness writing, like what if Andrea was talking to me and all of a sudden a wormhole opened behind her and she disappeared? What if I'm sitting on a Zoom call and everybody turned into croissants? Just like filling in with like every single possible thing he could think of, doing 50 of them, and then went through and like deleted the garbage, narrowed it down, and then all of the ones that were interesting, he would write like 1 sentence about, and then erase the ones that were boring, and then would write 3 sentences about the next one, and then would write a paragraph. And by the end of it, he would have like just 2 well-crafted stories. And I think there's something really fast. Again, I haven't really sussed this out on like how to utilize this, but I think there's something really interesting there about prompts. I resist using prompts in my shooting. I don't really like any of the like, download this guidebook on the 400 promptography thing, because I'm not going to remember those. I don't really like those, but I like the idea of like prompts for kind of this kind of creative process, because this is outside of my realm of photography, and I need help with the writing part of things. So anything that I can do to like kind of like automate it would be really valuable to me.
I think that's a good idea. I think anything that gets you thinking about something different than what you normally are thinking about, like those prompts, what if, and then just sitting down and doing kind of like free journaling or whatever. I think like once you start that process, it like opens your mind up, and then your mind is open to be inspired by other things, and then you start getting like new ideas, and then it just kind of turns into like a roller coaster.
For sure. Well, it comes back to this idea that as photographers, we should be inspired by things that aren't photography. We should be inspired by, I like to think of myself as a creative or as an artist who utilizes camera technology. Yes, I like very squarely fall in the like, I am a photographer. That is the thing that I do for a living. But I went to art school, and I like, my vanity is I like to think of myself as an artist. And so if we can be inspired by drawing, painting, writing, cinema, television, I think that's a really big positive. I have long-term goals for us, so that as a community, I want to make excuses for a community to get together and like go to galleries and go to the Graham in or actually I really like the UICA in Grand Rapids, or go to the DIA in Detroit, or I don't know. Oh, there's we can go to the Penis Museum in Iceland. That's a thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love those ideas. I love to go to the DIA, like if I'm feeling really, when I get like, I feel like I'm not good enough in that kind of mood. Like, my work isn't as good as I want it to be. Everyone else is better than me. Everybody gets in those kind of mindsets, and I'll go to the DIA, and it always like breaks me out of that, because seeing like,
for sure.
Just even like looking at one painting from the DIA, it's the Detroit Institute of Arts.
Oh yeah, we should probably say that.
It just like totally blows my mind, like that somebody sat down with like a paintbrush and like painted this painting when like I can just push my finger on the shutter button and boom, there's my picture. And I know there's a lot more to it than that, but I just think painting is like mind-blowing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think what you said there is there's something that I think we should really focus in on, because I have I won't dig in on the really deep esoteric nature of this, because I have a lot of thoughts about the nature of the universe that we probably shouldn't go into yet. But the idea that you personally would walk through the halls of, and again, the Detroit Institute of Art, DIA, and see these master works by world-renowned painters, sculptors, just artists from hundreds of years ago, like the masters of the Enlightenment era, and go, oh, that brings me positivity, or that reassures me that what I'm doing is good, when a lot of people would go, I'll never get there. I'm not that good. I just will never. And I think that it speaks to, I don't even think, it's not even a self-confidence thing. I don't think you need to be self-confident to be inspired by how great other people are. But I think that it's a really positive thing to look at these like master works and not pull a sense of like self-loathing out of it.
Well, it's kind of the same thing like when I was watching Better Call Saul. I was kind of like, what the heck? Like, how does somebody even get that creative? Like, I can't even imagine it. But then I'm also like, I want to practice that. And the DIA, like I'll see paintings where I'm like, the lighting that they have in this painting is insane. I want to try to recreate that somehow. Or
Oh my God,
like
yes.
the colors that they use, or like, I don't know, just like the mood of something will hit me and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that.
I also think we should probably focus on, or at least mention, this idea that there will be people listening to this, whether they're here right now or watching and recording after the fact, that will look at your Instagram account and go, this person doesn't feel like they're good enough. This is ridiculous. Andrea, your work is beautiful. You're very good at what you do. And I think that all of us have imposter syndrome. Like, it doesn't matter how good you get at your
Yeah.
craft. We all have those days where we go, ugh, I'm just so bored of my work, or I don't like it. And I know that the inverse of that happens to me, like always happens to me at like our peak season. And it's good that it does, because that's when I get the most excited, when I'm just like, I got really good this year. I really like this thing that I'm playing with, and I'm like just fitting into the groove of the season, and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. And I think there's something really like powerful about like taking that time and really like respecting the fact that, yeah, I'm doing good. Like, the thing that I'm doing, I'm getting paid for this. People are responding well to that. I will say the beginning of my season, I tend to be like, am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Are we sure that I'm a photographer? I haven't just been like getting by for 12 years, have I? Just by the skin of my teeth? No. And then you're like, a couple sessions later, you're like, I'm consistently doing good at this. I think I know what I'm doing. I catch myself saying that a lot to Brooke. I'm like, Brooke, I think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, same here. And it helps too, like if I look at my old work, like from 5 years ago compared to my work now, I'm like, oh.
Oh yeah. A quote that I've said a lot that I really like is, being a professional, or mastering your craft means that you can look further and further back on your career and be less and less embarrassed. Whereas like in art school, I would look back like 2 weeks and be like, oh, that's what I was making 2 weeks ago. And now you're like, you're like the beginning of your career, like the middle of your career, you look back like 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you're like, oof, that's bad. I can look back like a pretty decent chunk and be like, it's not that bad. I would do better now, but I'm less embarrassed by that work. Or when you have to send off some client work, it's because they want to see a specific venue. You're like, ooh, not there a few years ago. I don't know if I'm comfortable sending you that work. And then you look back and you're like, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Professional equals less embarrassed about it. Yep. Hate the work less. Correct. I currently hate my work less than I used to.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Good.
It's a positive.
I like that.
Can you agree with that, Andrea?
Totally.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
I think we've been here a minute. So is there anything that you want to share? Is there anything that you want to push? Is there any, are you working on anything that's like available for purchase or anything like that you want to talk about?
Oh, thank you. So I just yesterday released my presets for Lightroom, which was like a big ordeal because I've been working on them for like 2 years and I wanted them to be like perfect before I would let anybody else try them, because I've had so many people that are like, oh, are you using a preset? Oh, will you sell it to me? And I'm like, no. Because I can't like guarantee you that it's going to be great on your pictures.
You do realize that everybody's going to think we coordinated this, but that's really great timing, because I did not tell you.
I wasn't even going to mention it because I don't want to be like taking over anything or
no.
Shameless self-promotion, but
I'm so torn about that, right? Because like every single time I post about this group in like another photography group, I'm always like, now please tell me if you want me to delete this, but I only ever post about things when there's like an actual discussion of what are some resources that I can have. I was like, well, we've got some stuff where like we're doing daily challenges and bi-weekly is over at Photo Club, and I feel icky bringing it up, but I want this space to be a place where people can understand kind of what's available to them, and if you have a thing, you should definitely be able to like talk about it here.
Yeah. Yeah, and part of it too was like they're like my presets. Like
Yeah,
I built them from scratch and they're like me. So then I was like, well, if I sell them to other people, is that like bad? Because then, what if a bunch of other people are like using my presets and their pictures look
it's hard.
just like mine? Am I going to be like mad about it? But the cool thing about them is that it's really easy to like make minor adjustments that will make them a little bit different.
Yeah,
So you can kind of like have your own style, but use my presets as like the base. And
for sure.
so I made like a really cool PDF to go along with the presets that tells you how to do that and like how to have your settings on your camera so that they look the best. And like I want it to be not like you're just buying a preset and then you try it and you're like, oh, this does not look good.
What if we
Because I mean,
did? Go
there's
ahead. Go
like
ahead.
certain things I do like that the presets work better for, like lighting and paying attention to the backgrounds and like exposing for the highlights. If you shoot where everything's overexposed, they're not going to look good. So
Well, that's
I
one thing I was
explain
going to
how to
say is
do
that
that.
you're definitely like, we shoot for the presets that we've built. And so someone shooting in a completely different style won't necessarily be recreating your style. They may be able to like
Yeah.
play with your tones, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
I was thinking, what if we experimented with, I don't know, we'll talk about this off air because I want to figure out exactly, but I feel like there might be an interesting kind of like way to do like an edit with me challenge, but it's like edit with Andrea or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if, again, I don't want it to come across like shameless self-promotion. I don't think it will, but if I wonder if there'd be a way to like do an edit with me and then people could like filter them through that preset some. I don't know. Well,
I
let's
am
talk about
doing
this because I think there's something
I am
interesting
doing
there.
like a free test trial or like a test drive
Mm,
where you can Dropbox me up to 10 raw files and I'll edit them for you and then like talk
cool.
about if I had to make any adjustments what those were. Because I think that'll help. I mean, not like for the most part, like my pictures, I can just throw the preset on and they look great.
Yeah.
But like I've worked with other photographers like at weddings where they're my second shooter and they're shooting Canon or they just have like a different style of
Hmm.
shooting that I have to make some adjustments, but I can make the pictures look the same. So when I deliver them to the client, they can't tell that they were me or another person.
Cool. Yeah, we'll talk about that off air because I think there might be
Cool.
something interesting there. It might just be what you just described, like your Dropbox link. But I'd like it. I would love it to kind of fit within the mold of what we're already doing, so that it
Yeah.
was not just a demo of your. I mean, it could just be a demo, but it'd be fun if there would be a way for it to kind of be part
Like
of.
interactive.
Yeah, somehow. I don't know. It'd be
Yeah.
nice if there was a way to. Yeah, let's not keep. I'm just gonna blabber on if we keep talking about that.
Yeah.
Let's do this. I'm gonna go back to. Does anybody want to? Oh, Sydney came on camera now. Hi, Sydney. I see you. Um, does anybody have anything they want to talk about? Anybody want to ask questions? I mean, we've been asking questions kind of down in the chat. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about with their mouth?
I have a question
Yeah.
for everybody. So have you been like taking pictures during the quarantine? And if you have, what are you taking pictures of?
I know Hannah has. She's been doing a lot with the daily. Have you, Andrea? Have you seen the daily challenge that we do on the
Yeah.
Facebook group? I need to be better about using it. I had it put up there intentionally as kind of like a passive thing that people can just take advantage of when they want. Hannah, do you want to talk about what you've been doing?
Well, I have 6 fish tanks, and I have a friend who has this fish room, and he's selling fish. There's a place called Aquabid, and it's like eBay, but for fish. And some of the photos on that website are like absolutely incredible. And so he was like, well, I have this friend that is a photographer. So we have this whole setup. but I can't obviously go take pictures of his fish. So I've been practicing with my fish because he wants to sell fish, and so he needs nice photos. And I have mad respect for people who primarily just do fish photography, because you don't have really any control over what's happening with a fish. So I've been taking a lot of fish photos because I live alone and I primarily like to do portraits. And so I've just been I'm out of my element totally doing the fish photos, but I've been posting things like that because I've been trying to participate in the daily challenges, and I don't participate every single day, but I've been pretty active just because I don't want to stop shooting because I'm learning so much. And it's very much like a lot of the daily challenges are very much kind of out of my own element. So it's been good for me, but it's hard when you only have one extra free hand to like hold something, and like you have a dog that won't sit still, and like, yeah. So I've been mostly doing that, but the fish photography, I highly recommend if you guys have pets, practicing with them, because you don't have a whole lot of control sometimes, and it's really hard. It's like making me a way better photographer because it's so hard.
That's great. I love the idea of coming out of this better than we went into it.
I hope so.
I had no idea there was like a thing with fish photography.
Yeah, definitely. I'll try to find some well, I posted on the group, I posted a couple pictures yesterday of like my routine, and they were fish photos. So go check those out. But it's really hard. Like, you know how like in shoots sometimes you'll get like a million photos and like they're all but then you have like, you know, like your 5 to 10 that you really love.
Yeah, like every photo shoot?
Yeah, it's like that, but instead of having 5 to 10 that you love, you have like 2 that turned out. So it's definitely, I suggest, I'll try to find some cool fish photographers and try to see if I can like post their work or something, because it's really quite interesting. And there's like people that photograph betta fish, and the photos are absolutely stunning. It's quite remarkable. So
can
I just say I never thought I would hear the expression "cool fish photographers."
Yeah.
Not a sentence I thought I would heard somebody utter.
It's
I got this real cool fish photographer for you. Wait, is it an old photographer who's a fish, or is it an old photographer who photographs fish? That's a thought for you.
I'll try to find. Let me look really quick to see if I can find like some kind of link about it, because it's really interesting.
Yeah, we have our little tiny kitten that we just got, and I've been trying to take pictures of him, and it is not easy.
Yeah. It's hard when you don't have control.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Anybody else got anything they want to talk about? Nobody. So I'm going to go through all of our, I'm sure I missed some great questions. I'm going to go through the chat log, and I'll post some stuff in the show notes on YouTube, and I'll put some of them over, I'll put the appropriate ones over on the this event page as well. I actually jumped the gun last night and launched the next bi-weekly on Instagram, which for anybody who was following with the email blasts, I changed it for this one. It was supposed to be hidden, but I changed it to quarantine because we went into quarantine. So if you have, I know people have been shooting things ahead of time because they're really excited about having extra time to shoot. So if you've got some stuff already prepped for hidden, just post them anyway. I had something else to say. I don't remember. This was a good one. You guys are fun. I miss most of you.
So glad
I miss all of you. Yeah, follow Andrea on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere that is important. Any other questions, guys? Be safe, be healthy, take care of yourself, and stay home.
Thank
stay
you.
home.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Oh, wait, before you leave, Friday at 8 is Heather.
Yeah.
I think it's Joet. I've met her a handful of times. I don't really know how to pronounce her name. And then Sydney is next, or basically a week from an hour and 37 minutes ago. We'll be talking about COVID response to clients on Friday, and kind of like interacting with your clients and getting a sense of what how you can kind of best prepare your clients if they have really hard questions. And Sydney, I'm terrible. I can't remember off the top of my head what we're talking about.
Woo! Hi. So, hello. I am talking about GIFs, and I'm gonna actually do a tutorial and show you how I make GIFs. And then I know me and Michael have to talk about it, but like I kind of want to do like a challenge and like do something like that and show you like the process and be like, yeah, let's all do it because we're not doing anything else.
Right.
Okay, I'm super excited because that day is my birthday, and that's like the coolest birthday present. I'm so pumped. I've always wanted to make them. So,
question.
Okay, oh my gosh, you can make fish gifts.
I'm putting two people on the spot here. Would either, I'm pointing at the people on my grid, but you guys can't see this. Would you two, Hannah and Sydney, be interested in using any of Hannah's pictures for, like, could you prep her to use one of her pictures or a set of gift pictures so that it could be like a birthday present to her?
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I feel bad putting you on the spot, but I think that'd be really fun, and then we can make it a whole thing.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh my God. Okay, first of all, we have to battle GIF versus GIF. I say GIF. It's fine if you don't. But if we say GIF,
I go back and forth. I'm so bad at it.
It's okay.
That's why, like, whenever I record anything, I'm just like, so I say both of them. Don't come at me.
But if it's GIF, it can be your birthday GIF.
I say GIF.
So listen, not your birthday gift, your birthday GIF.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. I'll coordinate that thing. Don't worry about that. Otherwise, I'll see you Friday. See you Tuesday.
Woohoo!
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.